Joining us live right now is my good friend, Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Good morning, Joe. What do you have for us today?
Hey, Ray. How are you doing on this beautiful morning?
I'm doing great. How can you not be good on a day that we're going to have unfold in front of us, huh?
It's just fantastic. These are really bonus days. It's been beautiful. It felt great yesterday. Ray, there's some good news, too, I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
A couple of studies that have come out in the last couple of weeks, and you know how it's been for us with COVID in sports. A lot of real smart people are working on COVID with everything else, but COVID with sports, there were so many things at the beginning we just didn't know, and we knew that it would take time of 6 months, 9 months, 12 months at least of research to figure it out. And one of those areas was, remember, the cardiac effects, what's called myocarditis in athletes that were positive for COVID, right? That was the big fear. In fact, Ray, you may remember that's almost what shut down college football. Definitely in the Big Ten, they got down to the last week, and much of the debate was about the secondary cardiac effects that athletes got after they had COVID infections. And so now we have a lot of evidence on it. One of the things about all the testing they did on all the athletes in the fall and winter, we're learning a lot, and they did some good research. And there were two studies. One came out in January. It was on collegiate athletes, and they found that the prevalence of this heart problem called myocarditis in COVID-positive athletes was only 1.4%. And it was a pretty well-done study with big numbers. And so that's pretty low. And so they even were looking at the MRI. Remember, there was a little debate about should we go to the very sensitive MRI test as a tool to get to the bottom of this. And they looked at a whole series of different tools like function of the heart, like an echocardiogram and EKGs and a type of a heart muscle issue called troponin, and they looked at a lot of things. And anyway, the point is the number pretty small, 1.4% in college. Well, this week, maybe even one better, March 4th, that's only a couple days ago. I know your audience likes to be up on the very latest, right? March 4th of this week, they looked at a professional survey. It looked at athletes from the major indoor soccer, MLB, WNBA, NBA, and the NFL. The biggest number was from the NFL, and they had very large numbers, up near 800 athletes that they looked at that were positive with COVID. And the numbers of what they found were about 0.6%, less than 1%, had findings that would cause them to need to be restricted from play. Remember, the worry was if they had this myocarditis, they may be out 6 months or more. It was only 0.6%. This was kind of the counterpoint to, for a while, some really smaller studies were done several months ago saying these numbers could be up in the 20 to 30% range. So, of course, that had all of us in sport very concerned and turning to our COVID experts and cardiac experts saying, geez, what are we going to do with this thing? Well, anyway, now as the smoke clears months later, those numbers are a lot smaller than we originally thought, at least according to these two studies done in the very, very reputable journal, the JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association for Cardiology. These numbers are a lot smaller. It almost really canceled college football. Some braver people stood forward and said, boy, they didn't think the numbers were that high, and they turned out to be right. Now, at Akron Children's, of course, we have to take everything, and in pediatric world, a little bit different. Kids are different, so these numbers aren't exactly extrapolated in kids, and we're still looking very closely. We have a really good team of our COVID and cardiology experts looking at restriction from sport, looking even at pre-ops and issues like that. So that's a little bit of a different deal, but at least this data might help us start to make some of the decisions or continue to make those kinds of decisions in that world as well. And so a little bit of good information, again, helpful information, something, again, we could not say 6 or 9 months ago that we can say with a lot more certainty after very good studies. There were about 800 positive people in that professional study that came out on March 4th this week, a couple days ago. And it's really good information for us to know, Ray.
He always gives us the latest information, great research. He is in touch. Joe, my friend, thank you for the visit again. Good information. We'll catch up with you next Wednesday.
Enjoy this week, would you, my friend?
You know I will.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thanks,
Take
Joe.
care. Have a good week.
You as well, my friend. Dr. Joe Congini, Akron Children's Hospital, joining us live this morning.